Hello and welcome to this video on area and perimeter. So we're going to be focusing on the area and perimeter of various 2D polygons here. So a polygon, remember, is any shape with three or more sides that has straight edges. I'll do another video on things like circles and semicircles at a later date, and we'll have a look at a couple of past paper questions relating to this as well. So first of all, what actually is area? So area is the amount of space taken up by a flat 2D shape. So I've got a nice little picture to kind of illustrate this a little bit as well. It's measured by the number of 1 by 1 squares that fit inside that shape. So that could be squares that are 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, as we can see in these four diagrams, or it could be 1 meter by 1 meter, which you might perhaps use if you were trying to do the area of a room or an area of a much larger space perhaps. Okay, so that's what essentially area is a measurement of. It's a measurement of how many squares fit inside a shape. With perimeter is just the distance around the edge of a 2D shape. So as you can see from this little diagram there of this rectangle, if you were to do the perimeter of it, you would just add together all of the sides and that will tell you the perimeter. Here are some formulas that you need to remember for polygons. So for squares and rectangles, it's a simple case of doing the base times the height, or the length times the width, if you want to look at it that way. Triangle, slightly trickier. You need to do the base times by the perpendicular height. So that's the height at a 90-degree angle. And then trapezium, slightly trickier. So you've got to do a plus b, and the a plus b is referring to the top and the bottom of the trapezium. You can then multiply it by the height again. That's got to be the perpendicular height, and then you divide it by 2, and that will tell you the area of any trapezium. Okay, let's have a look at some to practice with them. Okay, so we've got a rectangle here. I would like you to do the area of it and the perimeter of it, please. Okay, let's have a look at the answers to this one then. So the area, like we said before, was just base times height. So you just got to do 7 times 4, and that's measured in centimeters squared because we've got our measurements here in centimeters. And then perimeter, we just got to add together all the sides. You can also look at this another way. You can just do 7 add 4 and multiply that by 2 as well, and that will also get you to 22 centimeters. Okay, let's have a look at this triangle then. First step then, if we do 7 times 4, that will give you 28, and then we've got to divide that by 2. Remember, the area of a triangle is half base times height, or base times height divided by 2. Okay, now we've got a trapezium then, so pause your video and have a go at this one. Okay, now remember the formula for trapezium is this. It's half a plus b times by the height, or you can do a plus b multiplied by the height and then half it if you want to. It doesn't matter as long as you do the brackets first. So if we do our brackets, we've got 10 add 5, so that's our a plus b. So remember, the a plus b is always referring to the top and the bottom of the trapezium, so that gives you 15. If we do the 15 times the 7, which is the perpendicular height of this trapezium, that will give you 105. And then if you half that, you will get 52.5 centimeters squared. Okay, so let's move this along. We're going to take a look at a few sort of past paper questions and from various AQA past papers which look at this topic now. So perhaps a few questions where perhaps there are a few more steps involved maybe. Okay, this one then, so we've got a perimeter. We know the perimeter of this triangle is 22 centimeters, so we already know the perimeter here. We've got to work out the length of side AB. Okay, the first thing to do here then is to take that 4 away from the perimeter. So we already know that the total perimeter is 22. and we know that the base is 4, so we're left with 18 centimeters. Now the clue for this is we've got these little lines here. Now these lines indicate that this is an isosceles triangle. So what that means is both of these sides will be equal. So the 18 centimeters that's left has got to be divided equally between those two sides. So side AB will be 9 centimeters. Okay, next one then. A shape is made using 15 identical rectangles, and that's really important, that word identical here. And this is a 4-mark question, remember. So we've got to work out the area of the shape. Okay, let's have a look at the answer to this one then. So first of all, if we do 18 divided by 3, that gives you 6. And the reason I'm doing that is because if we look at one of these rectangles, we can see this 18 centimeters is going across 3 of them. So 18 divided by 3 will tell us that this is 6. Next step, if we do 6 divided by 3, that will tell us the shorter side there, which is 2. And the reason I've done that is because now we know that the longer side on the rectangle is 6. We can see that the longer side is equal to 3 of the shorter sides. So now we know that they're 6 by 2. If we add 6, 2 and 2 together, because we've got 6 here, we've got a 2 there, and we've got a 2 there, that's going to make 10. Now we can just do 18 times 10, and that will tell us the area of the whole shape, and that will give us an area of 180 centimeters squared. Okay, we've got another 4-marker here then. So this time we've got a pyramid that's got a square base. So that will, when they're telling you something square, remember that's always going to be important. Then it says each of the 4 sloping edges has length 10 centimeters. The total length of all 8 edges is 68 centimeters. And we want to know the area of the square base. And again, this is a 4-marker. So there's going to be a few steps to get to the right answer. Okay, so your first step here then is to do 10 times 4, and that will tell us that the 4 sloping edges, the length of those adds up to 40 centimeters. If we then take that away from that 68 that we've got for the total length, that will tell us that 28 is the perimeter of the square base. That's the distance around the edge of this square base, so all the way around the edge there. And because it's a square, remember on a square, every side is equal. So if you divide that by 4, that will tell you that one edge on the square is 7 centimeters. And remember, for a square, it's base times height for a square. So if we do 7 times 7, that will tell us that the area of the square is 49 centimeters squared. Okay, here is our next one then. So we've got 2 shapes here, and each of the shapes has an area of 24 centimeters squared. So you need to work out the missing lengths based on this. Okay, so your rectangle then, you know that your base is 6. So if you do the 24 divided by 6, that will tell you the height, which is 4. So remember, it's base times height for the area of a rectangle. So you've just got to work backwards. And then with your triangle, because your triangle's base times height divided by 2, the way I've done this is I've reversed the divide by 2 first. So remember, the opposite of dividing by 2 is timesing by 2. So that's 24 times 2, which will give you 48. So now we know that the base times the height is 48. Well, we know that the height is 16. So the base times 16 has got to be 48. So we can now reverse that by doing 48 divided by 16. And that will tell us that the base is 3 centimeters. Okay, final question then. So this is another 4-mark question. Field A is a rectangle which is 30 by 70. field B is a square with the same perimeter as field A. We're being asked how much bigger in area is field B compared to field A. Okay, so there's a few ways we can start here. The way I've started is I've done 70 times 30, which is 2,100 centimeters squared. That's the area of field A. And it's always good when you're doing a multi-step question like this to write down, once you've done a sum, it's quite handy to write down what that number is all about there. So what you figured out, just to make sure you don't get mixed up with anything. Then I've done the perimeter of field A. So 70 add 30, I should have got brackets around there as well though, sorry about that. So we've got brackets there. So we've got 70 add 30 and then I've multiplied that by 2, which is 200 centimeters. So that's the perimeter of A. Now if I divide that by 4, that gives me 50 centimeters, because remember it's telling you that the perimeter is the same for field B as field A. So that now tells me that the side lengths on field B are 50, because remember a square, all of the sides are equal. So I can then do 50 times 50 to get 2,500 centimeters squared, and then I can do a subtraction to work out how much bigger field B is, which will tell me that it's 400 centimeters squared bigger. It's quite a tricky one here, but remember on these multi-step questions like this, new step, new line, make sure you write all your working out nice and clear, and sometimes it's good to write down next to it what you've just done. Okay, so that's it for this video. Thanks very much for listening. So hopefully that's been useful to you, and I'll be uploading loads more videos, so please hit subscribe and you'll see loads more content over the next few months. Thanks very much. Bye bye.